misses out. Terrific. So again, I don't have any fancy supplies. I just have the paints, brushes, something to paint on, the paper plate, cup of water, and a paper towel. And that's it. I don't have a, I'm not going to be using a pencil tonight. If you want to do sketching, I'll let you know when you could do sketching, but we'll just kind of jump in. One of the things I love about this is it has a nice, simple, light colored background. And it kind of has a little bit of a design to it, the light colored background, if you look at the inspiration, which I kind of like. And I might like be a little fun and like do some design work like in a very light color. So the background is a like, you could do a light yellow, you could do a light blue, you could do anything you want. I'm going to use ochre and yellow mixed together. And I'll probably use a little bit of white paint. So I'll do like a yellow toned background. But you want it to be light in color. So you can get the light in color, and I'm just putting a small dot of each of these. You could get the light color by using water to like create that softer pigment, or you could use white paint. I'm going to put a little bit of white paint on my plate. I always like to prepare my paints and get everything kind of on my plate. We always mix the colors that we like first, right? Before we jump in and get started. I'm not afraid to use a little bit of water to kind of quote unquote water down or change the opacity of a given color. So I'm going for like a light colored yellow. Basically, if you wanted to do a light blue, you could do a light blue. If you like purple, if you like, you know, want to do like a light pink, you could do a light pink. You want this to be like a soft pastel. You do want it to kind of just hide in the background a little bit. So I'm just finding a pink pigment color that I like. And I'm just bringing in a little bit of white. I am going to use water though to help spread it. I'm mixing with this smaller brush, but you can, I'm going to use a larger brush to apply. So if you wanted to mix with a larger brush, you could. So this is kind of a golden sunflower yellow. This is fine for right now because I'm going to use water to water it down. So I'm just going to take this brush and just stick it in there because I'm not going to use that one to paint. I have this like 1/2-inch flat tip brush. If you have a bigger brush, I know Sharon always uses bigger brushes than me in these classes. I should probably start using bigger brushes, Sharon. I'm taking a dollop or two of water and I am just going to, maybe I'll bring in a little bit more white. See, I've just softened it. So I'm making kind of like a milky-like consistency. You're going to paint the entire background this color. So that's the first objective. The whole thing. So you can start at the top. I'm going to dip my brush in a little bit of water, and that will help move it around and spread it out. So don't hesitate even just to dip your brush in water again and just left and right. I'm doing smooth horizontal brush strokes. This is just a soft background color. I am going to add a fun little design on top of this. Really just whatever comes to mind. And the inspiration, I was thinking about doing like little swirls, which could be kind of fun. I think like little paisley designs could be kind of cute. I'll have to like look one up and see exactly what it looks like. I think in the inspiration, there's like little paisley swirls, like little fern-like designs. I don't want to spend too much time on the background, but I think it could be a fun thing to add in if anybody wants to do that with me. And if the background has like some darker areas and some lighter areas of this yellow or whatever color that you use, don't worry. I'm going in and getting a little water, a little paint. And while this is still wet, the pigment will move. Now I'm painting on paper, so it's drying pretty quickly, which is fine. I'm just making it work. But this is all for fun anyways. Keep an eye out for Miss Jenny. All right. There's Miss Jill. Jill's got her fancy easel out. All right, Jill. Just do some smooth brush strokes. Everyone's painting on different size canvases. Some of you might be painting on acrylic paper. Some of you might be painting on something else. Just take your time and filling in this background. This background doesn't have to be perfect by any means. It's just getting a basic coat down. So we're going to start in the background and work our way to the foreground. You can take a big deep breath to settle in to this calming activity. This part isn't stressful, at least it shouldn't be. I don't think anything about this painting stressful. We're not painting animals. We're not painting precise landscapes. Like this is just like a really fun one. Our birdhouse is not going to be straight, right? It's going to be a little Alice in Wonderland bendy. Who knows? Ooh, we could challenge ourselves to say, do I want to make I mean, Jean probably really wants a straight birdhouse. I'd be surprised if she has like a bendy one, but she might be doing that. So I'm just painting this entire background. And we're putting stuff on top of this, so it doesn't have to be perfect by any means. Again, I'm just doing some basic brush strokes. And then for anybody that, I'm sure everybody's painting their background still, but I'll talk about our next step just as we're painting here. I'm going to make one color just a shade darker than this for the kind of fun design that I'm going to put in. I might do little paisleys. We don't have to spend a ton of time. And if you don't want to do like the little design in the background like I am, you don't have to. I'm going to try to keep our class to an hour and a half today, just to be mindful of everybody's time. But I'm going to do a little bit, maybe I have ochre. So I'm going to do a little bit of a light design. So I still want the design to be light in color. So I have a very like sunshine yellow background, which is fine. And I'm just going to grab a small brush. And I have a little bit of, I want it to be really light. So, but I want it to be a little darker. So see, I brought a little bit of ochre. And if you don't have ochre, you could grab like a little bit of red to make it give it a little bit more of an orange tone. See how this is a little more orangey tone than this one? And I have water in this. That's why it's so liquidy, because I'm taking a couple dollops of water and I'm spinning it around. So see how it's a little darker? That's what I'm going for. And I have a smaller brush of choice here, but I'm going to try some of these fun, like early paisley designs, and I'm just going to have some fun with it. It can be swirlies. I don't know. I'm just going to look at the inspiration and just kind of have fun with it. And it don't have to be anything crazy. See how that's just like a little bit like of a light imprint, and just find a groove and just add a swirl coming to the left, add a swirl coming to the right. And I'm just going to fill the entire background with some of these fun designs. And I'm keeping a little space in between. And I'm just doing kind of like a big curve, a big circle, and then adding some flare. And I'm using just this watery, and this is kind of looks like an orange, kind of like an imprint. And you can do little twists and curves and curls if you want. So it's just creating a little bit of an imprint design. It's going to be just like a fun little nice touch. And just take your time. It's kind of fun just to do a big circle with a loop. A little water. This is fun. We've never done anything like this before. I like this. Do something like this again in the background. Being a little swirly. You can keep a little bit of space in between your objects, but you can kind of go off the page. A little water. This is this watery mixture. It kind of has a little bit of this orange tone. Do a small swirl and a big swirl. You could do spirals. You could do this swirling texture. You could actually do paisleys. Mine are not paisleys. They're just fun swirl designs. This will just be a fun detail for behind the scenes. And they can be as light or as dark as you want. I'm going lighter because I don't want them to be too distracting, but yours are going to go on how they go on, right? So it is what it is. So don't worry about that too much. And I'm going to do the whole background. You can do some smaller objects and some bigger objects. Look at the direction. You went left one time, try going to the right side the next time. I'm being very liberal and just flowy with my brush strokes. So find a brush that works for you. Isn't this fun? I think it is. This would make like a really good, this is a great technique if you're like making cards for people. Like you could paint some paper and do fun designs like this to make cards, like hand painted cards. This could be a fun background for that. And then to cut the paper. Fun. I think I have like one dark spot here, but that's okay. If you have a dark spot, you can always take a paper towel, and while it's wet, you can kind of like blot it up a little bit if you wanted to. You can always come in and tweak an area. Fun. It'll give everybody a few minutes to finish up the swirl. I will re-upload the inspiration into the chat window for anyone that had joined and missed that. We're painting this whimsical birdhouse. For anyone that's watching the recording, feel free to, you can use the Patreon app on your phone and the community chat to ask me any questions about today's tutorial. You're also welcome to post any comments in the YouTube channel as well, and I will respond back. And ladies and gents who are on the line, please let me know if you have any questions along the way. Jean, how's it going so far?
It's fine. I didn't do those swirls. They look very cute though. I'm just waiting for you to say what you're going to do
No
next.
worries. So we're going to do the white clouds next because the birdhouse is going to layer on top. So you're going to need some clean white paint for when you're ready to do the bird, to do the clouds. And I'm going to do these kind of fun, whimsical clouds too. They're going to be fluffy, chunky cumulus clouds versus my long, skinny clouds. So there's no rush. Join when you're ready. The clouds are really just going to be on like the top third of the canvas. You can come down about halfway if you want, but I'm going to keep them like in this top band. And they can be as big or as small as you want to. I just have a little bit of white paint. I'm doing small clouds. They're going to be about 1 inch to 2 inches. So, and I'm going to stagger them. They can be small. So I'm just doing like a line on the bottom, and I'm just doing like a little bump and a big bump and a little bump and a big bump. So I'm just kind of doing a little bit of a shape like this. So a line on the bottom and then fluffy and whimsical on top. And I'll paint this in really quick so you can see the shape. So we're going to paint them in white, and then we'll add shading to the clouds after. So it's a very simple kind of cloud style here. And I'm just going to stagger them. So I'm going to do, and you can have them big or small. So I'm going to do another one over here. And we're going to put our birdhouse on top of all of this. So it doesn't matter where your clouds are. People have a bigger cloud up here. If you want to do your clouds a little different than this, go for it. I'm embracing a different style of cloud in mine tonight. But if you have a cloud style that you like, you're welcome to do that. So most of us just kind of go with it. I'm going to do, you can do a little cloud. Clouds can be tricky. We all know that. So I'm just gonna do a little one. And I'm just gonna kind of layer them in. You can see I'm staggering left to right, but I'm also staggering them up and down as well. So just kind of evenly kind of scattering them throughout the sky. So I'm doing an outline with a small brush, and then I'm just filling them in with white paint. That's it. And you can do a couple small clouds if you want it. The smaller the clouds, the further away, you know, they'll appear. So just try focusing on doing some big ones and some small ones. That's the objective here, is just to add as many or as few as you want to. You can always add more after if you want to, but I want to make sure we have some down so we can put our birdhouse on top. Okay. And I'm just trying to evenly kind of space some position clouds up here. So I'm just gonna do another little one. I like the little ones. They can add nice perspective to this. And you can have little ones kind of going off the page, like your picture's continuing, right? It's not just here, it's kind of here, there, and everywhere. So you can put a little one that's maybe going off the page, off the left or the right. You could try that. There, I have an array. I'm going a little cloud crazy. That's okay. All right, this is where I'm going to be mindful and put my brush down because Megan, you don't need any more clouds. But if I wanted to, as I'm painting my clouds in, if some of these are drying, you can go in and do a second coat if you wanted to on some of these clouds. For me, it's my white paint is a very basic acrylic craft paint. So based on the types of paint and the quality of paints that you use in paint classes, they may hold and have greater weight or coverage than others. So I am painting just a second coat of white paint. As your clouds are drying, you can come in and paint a second coat on your clouds. And once they're dry, we're going to add a little shading to the clouds too, but we'll do that in a minute. Take your time and get your clouds in. And then you can kind of bop back around and do a second coat. Kind of makes your clouds pop from your picture a little bit, stand out a little bit more. It's easy enough to go back through pretty quickly. Not being incredibly precise, just enough. So as we are painting in these clouds, if anyone has anything they're interested in painting for the July months, I did post the dates for the July classes this morning or yesterday, I can't remember, but I'm open to what things you might want to paint. I think one of the first things that we'll be painting in July is a pond with a heron. I got some feedback of doing another outdoor scene, so that would be really fun. Just outdoorsy, and you can do birds, you could do a heron, you could do frog on a lily pad. There's lots of things. So we'll be doing a pond scene, and I'll be doing a heron. But if there's anything else that you want to paint, we're just missing the 4th of July holiday. But if you're interested in doing something 4th of July, feel free to let me know, and we can always do that. And there's the inspiration. Sorry, I didn't go through in the chat window before, but it's coming through now. So as that white paint is drying, I will show you how to add a little bit of a shading technique. I'm going to take a little bit of black and put it on my plate. a couple, I'm not gonna need a lot of black. I just did a couple dots over here. Mixing white and black together. I just need a soft gray. And a little black goes a long way, so. If you have soft gray. And on these clouds, the shading or the shadow is on like the left side of the cloud. So by mixing a soft gray, what you can do is on the left side of some of these clouds, you can add a little bit of a rounded shaded touch. You can use a little water, you can use your finger. If you don't want to do the shading on the clouds, I'm just kind of outlining. Oh, probably, let me see here. A little water is probably a really easy way of doing this without going overboard. I'm gonna grab my paper towel and do some blotting here in a minute. Some of these are out of control. It's okay. That's why we have paper towels, because you can easily blot and take off some of the paint if you want to. A little bit of gray will add shading to the clouds. I'm just using the corner of a paper towel to blot. And then you can also you can outline some of the cloud shapes. So you could do it like a line underneath, maybe like this. And then if you wanted to kind of outline some of the cloud fluff, you could do that too. Kind of like it's like a scoop of vanilla ice cream or something. You kind of outline them a little bit. And you can always come in with white paint to kind of touch something up if you want to. You can do a little bit of extra gray on the left if you want. So I'm kind of outlining some of the shape. I'm doing a gray line on the bottom, and I'm just doing a little bit of extra gray on the left. And then anywhere I need to bring in extra white again, I can do that. So I'm kind of outlining the fluffy parts, even on the right, and I'm just doing a little bit of extra gray on the left. And I have water on my brush. Water, instead of a ton of paint pigment, is working much better than just pure paint. The water is helping soften the paint pigment. So I'm kind of outlining some of my fluffy clouds, kind of like it's a scoop of ice cream. I'm doing a line on the bottom of the cloud. And I'm just doing a little bit of extra gray on the left side. Again, it just shows some of the shaded areas of these clouds. A line on the bottom. You don't even need a lot of this on your brush because it can go on pretty heavy. Like that one went on pretty heavy. And I can just take my paper towel and just dab some of it off. If it goes on heavy, don't worry. Just know you can dab it off while it's wet. And if it dries and it's really thick and heavy, you can always put white paint on top of it to kind of fix it. So no big deal. So I'm going to outline some of these clouds. I'm going to do a gray line on the bottom. And a little bit of extra gray on the left side. And if you need to like make these clouds like a little longer to like have them be a little more floaty, you can like float a little bit to the left and the right. That's fine. And again, you can always bring in white to create those lighter areas. So just you can be playful here with your cloud texture. This is a great opportunity to practice bringing in gray to create the shading. And I'm being really gentle with my brush strokes. And you can see those clouds. You can see the bottom of the clouds. They're floating in the sky. These are just going to be a really fun accent detail for the painting itself. I'll give everybody, keep an eye on the clock. I'll give everybody like 2 or 3 minutes to play with the cloud shading, and then we'll switch to doing the birdhouse next. And I'm thinking that we use a gray maybe to outline the birdhouse, because there's some outlining going on. So think about that a little bit. think a gray could be a nice outlining color to do the birdhouse. And I'm just playing around with what color gray, because in the inspiration it's black, and you could use black if you wanted to. I could make this gray really dark, and I have water mixed in. Water is going to be our friend to help make fluid brush strokes. You could use a lot of paint and just use no water, but I'm going to use water to apply. It will help just smoothly, do some brush strokes for our house. So I'm using a dark gray for the house outline. And I'm just finding a nice thin brush, but I'll let you all finish the clouds first. I think this dark gray will be fine. It's very watery, which I like, and I'll just show you how easy and how smooth and fluid this is with a little bit of water. It's going to make it nice and easy to paint the birdhouse outline. And this brush is, oh, the number is rubbed off. It's probably a number 1. It's a nice smooth fine tip. It's not super fine tip, but it's a newer brush. So I have a nice tip on the brush, so it's nice and clean. Again, I'm mixing a dark gray, a watery dark gray. And we'll use this to do the birdhouse. So I'll wait for everybody to finish the cloud shading and mix this color. And then just give me a thumbs up when you're ready to do the birdhouse shape. I'll look at some of your videos. Jill is good, perfect. Janice and Sharon, you ladies take your time, but mix this color. If anyone wants to jump ahead, you're welcome to just do the birdhouse. For me, it's going to be like the size of my hand, and it's going to be like floating in the middle. That's for me. You could put it in the middle or you can put it to the left, but you want the birdhouse to have a post that comes down. And you want to have a little room on top. So I could use my phone as an example, because it's actually quite the right size of the birdhouse. You can put a post on the bottom, right down, and then there's some spacing on top, because we're going to want to put a bird up here on top of the birdhouse. What a perfect object. And you can also play around positioning, right? You could do a centered birdhouse so that my phone is in the center of my painting. You could do it to the left, you could do it to the right. You could do 2 birdhouses. You could stagger them if you wanted to. You could do a small one and a big one. It could be kind of fun. If you wanted to do 2 birdhouses. I'm going to do 1 birdhouse, and I'll do like a flower over here a little further down. And to do the birdhouse, I'm going to start with the roof. So if you folks aren't here yet, it's not a big deal. I'm going to put a dot at the top of the canvas on where I'm going to put the birdhouse. So I'm going to put a dot here, and I'm going to do a fun whimsical roof down. I'm just going to go for it. It's not even, not a big deal. And then, so the roof is going to come out. And then the house is going to be within the roof, right? So you're going to kind of come in on the left. And then the bottom of the birdhouse is a little rounded. So you're going to have overhang, basically. Doesn't look like a birdhouse yet, but it will. So the bottom of the birdhouse is a little rounded. So I'm just going to structure these lines first. My lines are not perfectly straight. It's a part of the appeal here. You like that appeal? All right. And then there is the roof. There's a little bit of spacing and padding. So I'm going to put a little dot right here where the roof is. And I'm just going to connect the bottom of the roof out and out to the edge. It's kind of like an upside down V. And I'm just going to do a skinny little post down here. This is not straight. I'm like, I was committing to things not being straight for it to being a little bit Alice in Wonderland. I'm embracing that. I could do a little hole for the birdhouse. This is where the birds can go in and out. And then I can do a long stick-like structure that the birds can land on. I love that my pole is crooked. Like it just really makes it for me here. And since there's outlining here with many of these objects, we could continue outlining just as an option. You don't have to do this, but I'm just going to kind of embrace the idea. I'm going to put the bird outline on the top. And if you want to do this with me, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. But I'm going to let the birdhouse dry and I'm going to fill it in. The bird is, it kind of looks like it's very round and happy. Oh gosh, this is going to be fun. Round and happy. It kind of comes straight. And he's got a little tail. And he's got little legs that are like hanging on to the top of the birdhouse. And I'm going to give it a little beak. And a rounded wing. And I'll let it dry and then I'll fill it in. But I kind of like having it all match with the dark outline. Kind of follows the theme here. And I'll give it a little eye just to bring it to life, but you don't need to add the eye yet if you don't want to. There's its legs hanging on to the top of the birdhouse. I feel like I need like little feet kind of like grabbing on there. I added little feet to make it more realistic. So we're doing basic outlining. A lot of these flowers have outlining as well. So it's up to you if you want to do outlining. I'm going to do a little bit of outlining with some of these flowers. Just because that's kind of what this theme is, and then I'll paint them in. So you can do big or small flowers. If you don't want to do outlining for the flowers, that's fine. I'm going to do some smaller flowers. You can look at the inspiration for different ideas. Try to do different styled flowers. This is kind of like an echinacea with a little bit of a bud on top, which I like. So one of the things we do in our classes is you pick a style of a flower, you do 2 or 3 of them, and then you do another style. So I did this kind of daisy-like flower right here. I'm going to do a couple more of those. I'll make them smaller though. So I'm just going to do these little loops because I want this to match, right? I want this to be a field of flowers that all match. So I did one over there. I might do another little one down here. So pick a style of a flower, add 2, 3, or 4 all over. I might just do the little legs into the ground here while I'm here. Doesn't matter, you can do the stem. Then I did this little echinacea kind of style flower with like the little bud on top and then a few of the petals hanging down. So there's no petals upwards, the petals are all down. So it's just a different perspective on a flower, which is always fun.
Megan, what color are you using? I think you said you were using gray. What did you make it from?
It's a gray, it's just white and black, but I'm using it's watered down over here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just white and black mixed together.
Okay.
Yeah. So pick a style of a flower. keep some of them small. You can do a couple big ones, but add some smaller kind of wildflower sizes in here as well. And I'm going to do some of these buds down. Again, if you don't want to do the flowers right now, you don't have to. It's just, for me, this is all going to match by having some of these outlines. So I did 1, 2, and I have 3 of those. I love this rose too. This like, it looks like a marshmallow and then there's like a rose swirl inside. It's actually really cute. So if I'm going to pretend to paint a marshmallow, which is kind of like a rounded square. And then the top, I'm going to just do a little bit of a swirl, which I totally just messed up. That's okay. I'm going to embrace it and I'll fix it after. I'm going to do another little, so you can do a marshmallow, which is a rounded. And then there's a little bit of a, my bristles got twisted. There's a little bit of a swirl on top. So I'll paint like a pink flower inside of that one. Now you could paint leaves in too. So if you can paint the leaves in. There's not a ton of leaves in the inspiration, but if you like the leaves, you can paint in leaves along the way. Let's do some more of these marshmallow roses because they're fun. And I do a little bit of a swirl on top. Except my brush is not working well for this, but it's okay. And some of your flower stems, you can have multiple flowers. So find styles of flowers that you like. You can do a couple leaves. Have fun. Try not to take this too seriously, right? We're here to have a good time. And we're here just to, sometimes it's fun to paint things that are not so serious. We paint a lot of serious things in these classes. Very serious. More detailed things that we want to get more precise. It's okay to not feel like you have to be a perfect artist all the time. And tonight's is such a good, it's such a good example of that. You can do just like a little bit of a bud here with like a little flower. Figure out how you want to fill in this flower space. And then we're going to come in with our colors and we're going to kind of fill in like a coloring book. Now, if some of you decided to not do this, that's absolutely okay. But sometimes it's fun to do something a little different. Maybe you want to add some grass blades, like long, skinny ones kind of coming up in between. Like down here, you could do that. Especially if you don't want to do too many flowers, you could just add a few grass blades just coming up from the bottom. Finding a brush that works for you is probably one of the most important things. So I am being really playful as an artist. Just adding in some grass. That's just what I'm inspired to do tonight to fill this in. Let's see, I have a couple, I have like a little flower over here with like a rounded center with maybe 5 petals. And then some of these stems, you can put other little flowers off these stems too. I picked peonies this week and shared them with my neighbors, and many of the peonies, the big ones, have all passed. But there was like some of those marshmallow buds that were underneath some of those peonies. And I kept them in a jar. So it's a good example of there's sometimes more than one flower bud on a given stem. So you can add multiple flower buds further down, right? That just haven't grown yet, that are smaller. We do that with a lot of our wildflower paintings. There's multiple flowers. Again, you don't have to do all flowers. You could just do some tall grass in between just to kind of fill in your scene. Just kind of lean back and make a choice of what you want to do. And I may add another flower up here on the top. Think about from a spatial perspective, if there's anything else you want to add. There's a dragonfly also in this. You could always add a little dragonfly. I have a big space right here, so I'm gonna have to figure out what I want to put up here. I haven't decided yet. I'm gonna think about it. And I have too much water on my brush over here. So again, if you happen to get too much water on your brush, or if you don't like something, you can always paint over it. Or if it's wet, you can kind of dab over it and fix it on the fly. Yes. And be sure to switch brushes. Like if you need to switch a brush, you can do that. But just fill in this space as you wish. I'll add some birds in after, like in the background. On the top, I'll add a dragonfly in. But it's kind of fun to get some of that outlining in because all those dark elements now match each other. Now we can add color whenever you're ready for some of these next steps. So keep working on whatever outlining detail. Some of you may have already jumped in with color. So we might all be like at different steps and stages. That's okay. Always okay. I'm going to start with my bird. I'm a lefty and I'm pretty messy, as you all probably know. So I'm going to start at the top and work my way down. So my hand isn't like, I'm not dragging paint from the flowers up to my birdhouse. I'm going to do the bird and I'm going to work my way down to the birdhouse. And then I'm going to work my way down to the flowers. Just for the spacing situation. So I'm going to paint my bird blue. It's going to be 2 tones of blue, which is going to be really fun. Let me see what kind of brushes I have here. All right. I'm going to use the big brush, just I'm going to be in a little bit control. If you have a smaller brush than this, like the next size down, that would be ideal. But I'm going to grab just a blue. The bird's chest is going to be lighter. So I'm going to paint the bird blue. And I'm going to use a little bit of water to soften this. If you wanted to use water, you could, but I'm going to keep the bird's chest fairly no, I'm not going to paint it quite yet. I'm just going to do the bird. And you can go on top of the gray lines if you wanted to, but use a brush that you're in control over and just fill the bird in. The wing, we're going to do a lighter color. Obviously, you want your yellow background to be dry, which all of our backgrounds are dry. If it wasn't dry, you would get a green bird, which we don't want green quite yet. So I'm just painting my bird. There's a lot of paint pigment on this bird, so I'm just going to grab a little bit of white. The nice thing with acrylic and the bird's chest is going to be a little lighter. So any way you want to do that and play with the blending of colors, you can do that. This is where you can have fun blending and playing. There's no right or wrong here. You can have fun with how you bring in the colors. I'm gonna put my bird's eye back in just a minute. But you can practice, you can play with blending the darks and the lights at the same time if you wanted to. Yeah, I'm playing with I'm using water to help blend these together. So you can see I'm just kind of taking the darks and the lights and I'm just kind of blending them together a little bit. Kind of fun. And you can see it transitioned a little bit from like, there's a little bit of a gradient. But I kept the chest lighter, which is what I wanted to do intentionally. And then the wing is just going to be much lighter, so it stands out. So fill your bird in any way you wish. Try having the chest be a little lighter any way that you wish to do that. And then the wing to be a little bit lighter. And you could use white paint to create that light blue. And use a small brush here. I'm using way too big of a brush. I'm going to downsize if I need to here. But see how the wing is a much lighter blue? And I kind of have some fun blending going on here with these. But I like that I can see the outline. It's kind of fun. And there's a little bit of like a lighter lightness on the tip. You could put a little bit of light lines on the tail if you wish. All right, I'm gonna let the bird dry. You guys hear the baby crying? He's like right next door. We're in a very tiny home right now. We're at our camp on Lake Carmi in Franklin. And it's like 900 square feet. It's like two small rooms in the living room. So we're gonna so you're working on your blues. Working on our blues, and I'm gonna bring these blues into the roof, which is really cool. So the left side of the roof is gonna be a little darker, and I'm gonna bring in some lighter blues to the right side of the roof. So just take your time, there's no rush here.
I messed up on my bird, so I have no idea what to do next.
Oh goodness.
I was trying to make a bird and it doesn't look like a bird. It looks like a fish.
Does it need feet or a wing?
It needs to move out a little bit. It's too close to the birdhouse and it's looks like it's flat.
Flat on the bottom or flat on the top?
Flat on the bottom. So I'm trying to make a bigger head. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it look like a bird. I have to get bird shapes to, I have to look up bird shapes.
Here, let me do this. Do you want to show it, Jean, and I can help you?
You won't be able to tell where the bird is.
Oh, it's fine. Your bird's just it's just like sitting up more upright than mine. So mine is more long and skinny, and yours is just more upright.
Yeah, but
So
it doesn't look like a bird.
that's okay. Don't worry about it. So what you could do, Jean, is you could cover up the tail and just make a new tail that's more it's more horizontal to the body. See how my tail comes out horizontal, like near the head? You could use white paint to cover the bottom part of the tail, and then use the yellow paint basically to cover the white. And then you can just make the birds, your head is in a good position, but just add a tail to the right side of the head, if that makes sense.
I see. Yes. Thanks.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
All right, cool. No worries. Sorry, there was somebody knocking at the door and my husband was with the baby. I was like, all good. So I'm gonna do blue on this side of the house. Jean, let me know if you need help with that. But I think that if you cover up the bottom part of the tail and you add the tail more to the right side of the bird's head, I think that will be fine. But you could easily cover the tail that's down below. So you can do the entire top of the birdhouse blue if you wanted to. I'm gonna make one side a little lighter, but it's up to you here. Okay. I'm gonna make one side a little lighter. One side is a bit of a teal color, so if anybody wants to get a little fancy, you could make a teal. And it's blue and green mixed together. So if anybody wants to make like a greenish teal. So like one side, I'm gonna grab a little bit more white paint. Some of you might have multiple colors in your paint set. I have fairly limited colors tonight because I like to keep it simple. Not everybody has lots of paints, so I like to kind of blend on the fly to make this just inclusive. If you mix green and blue together, or if you kind of create a tealish color, you can always create a lighter tone by mixing a little bit of white. But yellow and blue will give you a green. Just add only, if you're looking to make a teal color, just use a little, like less yellow, and then it'll be more bluish green, which will give you the teal in itself. And I'm mixing that right here. And I'm going to use this teal color just on the right side of the house to give it a little bit of lighting. Now, any inspiration, it's much lighter. It's like a very light teal. Just if you wanted to do a two-tone colored roof like this, you can. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm just giving you an idea. If you want to do a different colored roof than me, of course, do that. Any colors that you want to do that are your own ideas, go for it. You can do something different than I'm doing. You all know that. If you're new to these classes, just know you can break the rules and do your own thing at any time. Some people really like purple. This Jenny must have run into the weather stuff tonight. That's otherwise I'm sure she would have been here. All right. So your birdhouse can be any color you want as well. So if you happen to have like an ochre, you could do a brown birdhouse, any color you want your birdhouse to be, you can shift and do that. There's no rush here. So everybody, this class could be, an hour long, it could be an hour and a half, it could be 2 hours. It just depends on how much detail you want to add to each of these elements. I'm going to see what this ochre color looks like. As I fill in the birdhouse, under the birdhouse roof, you can do like a darker yellow. You could do a more of an orange. You can pick and choose. You could just do a white birdhouse, ladies and gents. You can pick really whatever you want. Under the roof, it's a little darker. So if you're based on the color you're using for your birdhouse, just use a darker tone for the shaded space. So if you're using white, mix like a gray for your shaded area. So you could paint the whole birdhouse white if you were doing a white birdhouse first. If you don't want to do this fancy shaded thing, you don't have to. But I'm going to show you what it looks like if you wanted to try it. I'm using this ochre as like the color for my birdhouse. So you can see what I'm doing is I'm using the ochre and I'm using water to fill in the right side, which is the lighter side. And see this blending I'm creating here? I'm just bringing over some of this wet, darker paint to kind of fill it in and down. See the blending technique here? I'm just bringing in the wet pigment and just with water on my brush, I'm using this to fill in the body of the birdhouse. So I have like an orangish ochre colored birdhouse. I'm keeping the right side of the birdhouse just a little bit lighter. Oh, and don't mix your ochre with blue because you're going to get some nasty green colors. That's really. Let's see here. All right, so keep on painting that. And I'm going to mute myself just for one moment. I just grabbed the baby really quick. Keep painting. I'm letting my house dry. I'm going to fill in my house just with that lighter color. I can do that one-handed, believe it or not. I'm so incredibly talented with these multitasking things. Okay. All right. So I'm just going to use, and again, I could easily paint a white birdhouse that could look absolutely fine. I'm sure many of you are painting different colors, and you may not all have this ochre, but you can just use any lighter color that you want. So I'm just trying to do, I'm playing with some blending techniques to create a little bit of shade on the left side of the house, just is a little bit darker. And you can play with your water. Some people like using water, some people don't. It's really up to you. I like it. It gives me a lot of flexibility, but you kind of have to just play with it a little bit. But you can see I'm being mindful to keep the right side a little lighter. And you can always bring in, I'll show you how to bring in, you can even bring in a little bit of white to really soften one side as well. This is just like a fancy technique of just adding, so your birdhouse is in a flat color. Okay. I think he's trying to. All right. I'm So I'm gonna let this dry and then I'll show you how to add just some soft white. Let me see, I could do it right now too. Grab a little bit of white. A little bit of white just to this edge, and you can blend it over even with your finger. If I put a little bit of a white brush stroke here with water, you can blend it in just a little bit. And some of you may not be working on your birdhouse. Some of you may have jumped to the flowers. Again, any step or stage you're on, you just do you. I'm just here to kind of give you different tips and ideas. My roof, I may come in and add a little bit more highlighting to the roof. I'm not too worried about that. It's just about, with any of these classes, it's just getting some basic coats down. All right. And I'm just going to use my finger with a little bit of white here. And you can see I just softened that edge. It just made it kind of stand out a little bit more. So that's just a little bit of a tip to consider. All right. All right. And then the birdhouse, the hole itself is a darker color. So you could do like a dark blue. I think it's a dark brown in the inspiration. So if you wanted to do a dark brown, you could. That's totally fine. I like the brown. I think it's nice. So I'm just gonna grab a little bit. I'm just gonna grab a little bit of red here. To make brown, it is red and green mixed together. You can also mix together blue, red, and yellow. So I'm just gonna mix blue, red, and yellow together and make a quick brown. If you don't, sorry. All right. The noises of a 6-week-old you all get to just listen to for 30 seconds. Sorry, my husband's gonna be right back. It's okay. I'm just mixing my brown. Sometimes you all know, if you've taken these classes with me, sometimes brown happens quickly, sometimes it doesn't. It all depends on how much of the red you bring in and how much of the yellow and all that. But blue is actually a big contender. Another way to make brown is mixing red and green together, which I mentioned. So if you happen to have green, that green is helpful. And I want it to be fairly dark in color. And this should just give the whole, like, just some really solid depth, especially if you have, based on the color of the birdhouse you have, whether you have a lighter birdhouse or a darker birdhouse. That looks great, nice and dark. And I'm gonna do this stick of the birdhouse, or the peg where the birds stand. I'm gonna do this brown too. Now, if you really want to bedazzle your birdhouse, ladies and gents, you can like paint some stripes on your birdhouse. You could do polka dots. Like, there's some really fun things you could do. I might do like pink polka dots at the end. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But I'm just gonna embrace that for what it is. While I have this brown, this is optional, but this is just a little bit of like line whimsical detail. I have this small brown brush. I'm going to do a couple of lines. So I'm going to do a line at the top, kind of outlining gently. A little bit of, it's kind of like, I don't want to say like a shaded reflection, but just a little bit of line outlining for the shape itself. I'm leaving a little bit of padding. It's just a little bit of, I don't want to say like cartoon-esque, but it's just a little bit of outlining the shape, but it's leaving a little bit of room. padding between. So it's just adding a little bit of, maybe like a soft texture to some areas. So that's for consideration. If you like that, you can do it. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And it can kind of come up the side. I'm not using a very thin brush. I would use a smaller brush, but it's fine. It's going to block this up because it's on too heavy. And then I'm going to paint the post of my birdhouse. I could use red. I think I have a little bit of red right here. Red and brown, a red brownish color is fine for the post. You can paint the post to your birdhouse anything you want. Again, I told you earlier that I was starting from the top and working my way down because I don't want to smudge my hand in anything. You can keep these outlines as much or as little as you want. So I did a red post, which actually looks pretty cool. It stands out quite well, which I think is neat. And then you can fill in your flowers as you wish. Some of you probably have already jumped in and started to fill out your flowers. I'm going to do, you can pick whatever colors you want to fill out your flowers. I'm going to go for these little marshmallow roses first. And I'm going to do them as this, like a pink color. So you have fun and just, you can keep the outlines. Or you can paint over them. But I love these little swirls. And again, this is so whimsical. I'll bring this a little closer so you can see how simple these brush strokes are. Look at this. They're so simple tonight. It's just basic filling in. I am keeping the lines. I'll probably add something else up here in this space. But pick a color and kind of work your way around. So for me, I'm doing pink over here. I'm going to find some flower over here to paint pink. So maybe it's this like little echinacea. I want to have a balance of color for my flowers from the left to the right. Maybe this flower right here will be pink as well. This is a great kind of, came in to be like a hot pink color. It's just red and white kind of mixed together. Mm. And you can use this, you can paint over some of your outlines. It's not a big deal. You just want your flowers to, I want you to be happy with those flowers. I'm going to fill in the center too. Why not? And you can always add in more flower buds if needed. So for the colors of these flowers, feel free just to pick some of your favorite colors. In the picture, there are oranges and blues and greens and yellows. There's really all the colors. But for me, I'm just going to say, hey, well, what colors do I want to use? I think that like purples and pinks and oranges and reds would be a really nice touch. So just use, maybe pick 3 colors and do your flowers in 3 colors. Is that right? So I'm going to do red. Let's see here. I have some pink. I'm going to do, I'll do some couple flowers in red. I don't want, I'm just using a small brush of choice. I don't want too much water here. Sometimes the water will spread, which I'm sure some of you are finding if you're doing like some fine details. Maybe I'll just do some little like red buds on some of these ones down here. You can kind of paint in some red buds. Let's see. I really like the idea of doing purple. If anybody wants to mix a purple, it's blue and red mixed together. And then I always add a little bit of white. And again, just pick one color, paint the flower, bop around, have a nice mix and blends of colors. And I'm doing purple. My purple's a little dark, so I'm gonna make it a little bit lighter. Oh.
Megan, what does your son think of his new brother?
My little brother, what does Asher think of his little brother? He actually likes him a lot. He's doing so good. So this is the witching hour for anybody that remembers. If you've had children, like between 5 and 10, just magical things happen. And we're gonna try feeding him here while we're painting. So okay, we'll be all right. Daddy's close. It's all right. So I am going to just work my way around and just find a balance of color, find your favorite colors, and bop around to each of these flowers. One of the things that you'll notice is something might go on too light or too dark. Just know, like, I have this purple and some of this purple went on really dark. I can come in here with a little bit of a lighter purple and just retouch up some of these. So just know and just be open to the process that your colors of your flowers can change. Like if you use a color you don't like, just know, let it dry entirely and you can paint over it. Like I'm going for this like really soft purple. I'm just gonna put it here and there. And it's kind of like a periwinkle color, which is kind of neat. And I'm just using this by eye. And I'll do all my green leaves after. You're gonna notice you might have gaps here or there. Just know if you do, you can always add in more flowers, whether they're smaller flower buds, like little wildflower-like details. You may want to add like the green tall grass, like it's totally up to you. I'm gonna add like little white buds on the tops of some of these. And if I don't like the white, then I'll change it. No big deal. But I'm just looking around. So far I've done purplies, pinks. I'm gonna use orange as my final color, my flowers. And then I'll go into my green after. So let's see, I'm just gonna find a small brush of choice. And I'm gonna make it orange. To make a good orange, it is yellow and just a tiny touch of red. So just find a small brush of choice to mix that color. All right, so I'm gonna make some orange. Sorry about that. Thanks for your patience. All right, I'm gonna make a little bit of orange. And I'm just finding, this is my third color. So I'm doing pinks and reds, and then I did this periwinkle color, and I'm gonna do orange for some of these other flowers. And then I'm gonna do all my green after. I might come in and I'm just doing little dots. This is just a hint of color. Again, I'm being really simple tonight with my flower design and my flower, like filling it in. I'm not doing any crazy depth techniques. If you want to, you absolutely can go for it. But I am gonna keep it simple for tonight. But this orange is gonna look great with my blues and my pinks. As you are painting, everybody's filling in different areas. You are filling in your petals, you're filling in your flower petals itself. You are, you may be filling in spaces. I love this. I have like such a cute little array of flowers down here. And I love that I did the outlining. I think I have one more marshmallow rose up here I'm gonna fill in. And I love that these are so simple. We sometimes do complex things in these classes. And I love that tonight's is just really simple. Fun. I hope everybody's enjoying this. So I'm gonna let this dry. I have a big orange flower here. I'm gonna figure out what I'm gonna do up here. I might do like a dragonfly. It depends on how much time we have left in class. And there's a fun like trail dragonfly, like this dotted trail and the inspiration. But I'm gonna do my green leaves next. And again, if you wanted to add any green grass blades using a little water, that could be a really fun addition to your picture. But this is super whimsical, really fun. I might put a little bit of red on the inside of my birdhouse hole. Let's do the green first. So I have some of these little, I'm just gonna do the petals and see if it looks weird. If it looks weird, I might just do the whole stem, but I think this is gonna be all right. So I held space for some petals. And it kind of matches the whole theme of having these outlined objects with a fill of color. Well, I have the outline of these petals on the stems and I'm filling in and it looks quite cute. I'll zoom down so everybody can see it. Like it's so simple, but it just kind of works. So just everybody's style and approach is a little bit different for tonight. Just do what you need to do for yours. Don't feel obligated to follow along every single thing I'm doing. These classes are all about being inspired by a composition and then making it your own. That's really our theme for almost all these classes. So many of you, will follow along and do something very similar to me. Some of you like to branch off and get courageous and to do your own things, or maybe it's a mix of both. So just know you don't have to decide before you come to class. Just be open to doing whatever comes to you for this experience. Like I'm inspired to add a little bit of red on the inside of this bird hole for the house. And again, I don't want too much. I have an array of colors like the rainbow tonight here. I'm just gonna add a little bit of red on the inside of this just to see what it looks like. Maybe on the right side, I'll add a little bit of red. There we go. And I can blend this into the brown if I want to. So maybe I'll just bring in a little bit of water. That is way too much water. It's okay. I'll blot some of it up. Just to kind of create a little bit of a blending technique. And it's okay to, you can wipe something up. You can kind of paint over something. All good. The other thing I'll mention is we have about 10-12 minutes left of tonight's class. You can go in and do more additional outlining if you want to. So as an example, I have a little bit of my bird could use a little bit extra outlining. I lost some of the outlining, which I think is important. So I'm just getting some of that gray again, and I'm coming in, I'm going to just do an extra outline on my bird. Don't forget to give your bird an eye. Very important. And I'm gonna, sorry, my screen, I didn't flip back to spotlight and pin, so apologies. Let me zoom back up. There we go. So I'm just re-outlining my bird really quick. And I'm just gonna maybe redo the beak a little bit, adding my bird's eye. I might use black for the bird's eye so it really stands out. I did gray for my outlining. You all could use black if you wanted to. Totally up to you. So there's my bird's eye. I have the feet grasping the birdhouse. So if you wanted to kind of re-add the feet, I used a little bit of black to kind of re-grasp. I'll show you what it's like to re-outline the birdhouse, just so you can see the difference. So I'm using a little bit, this is a little more black in it. It's like still a dark gray though. But some of the finishing touches, when you're ready, you don't have to do it right now, is you can re-outline the objects. So you could re-outline the bird, you could re-outline the birdhouse once your color is in place. So I'm just re-outlining the birdhouse. I love my whimsical flowers. They're so fun and cute. So fun. I love how the birdhouse isn't straight. It's a little Alice in Wonderland. I may be a little crazy here, and we have about 8 minutes left. We'll add some birds in the sky, but I'm going to add a dragonfly over here. And I'm going to try doing this in a controlled fashion. So dragonflies have a body. So I'm going to just kind of like a cocoon-like body, and then these long wings. I don't think I've ever painted a dragonfly before, so be nice to me. It's a little bit longer of a body, isn't it? Probably a little bit longer. So there's a couple of wings. I think they're much longer, but I'm just going to embrace this for what it is for tonight. Not bad. And then it's got a couple of antennae. And I'm going to give it a longer tail just because I think they're longer. And then there's like these fun little dots, which I'm just going to I'm going to use the round end of the brush. There's like these little trailing dots, which are really cute. Dot, 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 dot. And I'm using like a gray paint. Dot, 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 dot. I'm just doing like a little loop-de-loop, like he's flying. He came from behind the birdhouse. Watch this, and I'm going to put the dots on the other side too. So this is my creativity, just being open to an idea and just going for it, because there is no risk here. So I just did like the dragonfly kind of came from the left and buzzed right over. Okay. So if you wanted to do something like that, you could. If you don't want to, you don't have to. I'm going to add some birds in the sky as well, but I wanted to get a little bit of a dragonfly in here. I had this space and I need to use it. I'm going to make its wings a little longer, and then I'll fill it in with an array of colors. I might make it like very rainbow, because doesn't that sound like fun? So I'm gonna let my dragonfly dry. I'm gonna put a few birds in the sky. These are kind of like M-like structures, so you can just go up and out like this. So like it's like a wide M. They're really little. And you can do some little birds, like they're flying in a flock a little bit. So you could do birds in the sky. Once my dragonfly is dry, I'm gonna just add some fun colors to it. So I might do the same colors of my flowers. So maybe I'll do oranges and reds and blues. And I'm gonna use a little bit of water to do this. So maybe I'll start on the interior of my dragonfly, which is still a little wet, but I'm just gonna do it anyways. I'm just gonna do a little bit of red on the interior, and I'm just gonna be a little PC with my colors. I'm gonna hold space for all 3 colors in this dragonfly. It's really fun. We should paint large dragonflies sometimes. That would be really fun. If you haven't yet done the butterfly class, that was really fun because you can kind of pick and choose what colors you like for the butterfly. butterfly class was awesome. And that's available on the YouTube channel as well, which I'll post a link before the end of class tonight for the tutorials for the whole playlist. So by supporting the Patreon channel, you get access to all of the videos. So let me just grab that really quick for you all so you have access to that. Since you're right here, let me find that playlist link and I'll just drop it in so you can bookmark it, and the butterfly class is on there. So let's see here. Playlist. So there's a ton, there's 34 videos of our past classes that are on this playlist, which is just awesome for you to have access to. And if you're ever inspired to paint one of these and you haven't done so yet. Let me see here. I need the link to the playlist. Okay. Thanks for confirming. All right. So welcome. Oh, sorry. That's another video playing. I'm just trying to grab the direct link to the playlist. This should be good enough. Okay. Thanks. All right. Thanks for confirming. So I'm going to paste that into the chat window so folks have access to that. The playlist is on the left side, but there's 34 total videos, and tonight's video will be posted in the same area, which is great. Okay, so Dragonfly, I have red and I have orange. We're doing great on time. I'm very excited to see how everybody's doing. I didn't do any sneak peeks tonight because I wanted to give you the time to really, I know that it's a process to get all these details in. So I wanted to give you the full opportunity to do all your touch-ups and your detailed work before you showed off your work. But I would love to do a quick show and tell here before we wrap up. There's my dragonfly of your work. I'd love to see it. So I'm gonna let mine dry and I'm gonna think about, hey, what else may I want to add? But I think I'm pretty close. But I'll unpin my screen here and check in. If anybody wants to show off their progress, I'd love to see it. Otherwise, keep on working. So just go at your own pace and show if you wish. All right, Jill, I appreciate you for showing. Yay! Oh, she did too. Fantastic. Okay, so look how different Sharon's are and Jill's. I love that Jill did nice, small, tiny flowers. You did some grass at the bottom and two houses. And Sharon, you did some of the big and the small. Sharon, your birdhouse is awfully straight, but it looks quite good. I'm just kidding.
I didn't intend for it to be straight, but that's how it kind of came out.
It's okay. I'm being funny. All right. Thank you, Jill, for sharing. It looks awesome. Janice, how's it going over there?
Going well. Let's see.
It's hard. Oh, so fun. I love how your clouds are very clearly outlined. Like they really stand out the way they should, I think.
They had a little gray, and then I kept the gray only in one and kind of painted over.
That's
They look a little
okay.
better being white and puffy.
You know what? It took me years to figure out the gray blending on clouds, just to be totally candid. So just know that I'll continue to share it in class, but don't feel obligated that you need to do it. It's more so like as the teacher, I'm saying if you wish to continue to practice this gray technique on the clouds, you may.
It was kind of cool because on one cloud it worked, and on three more I was like, nope, they're going back to white.
Totally, 100%. Right. So feel free to add the birds, feel free to add the flowers, and feel free to continue painting. I am going to, for anyone that's watching the recording, I'll go ahead and make this big one last time, and apologies, I didn't repin my screen. If you have any questions with any finishing touches, again, outlining any of these objects will really make them pop. So going through and outlining your bird, maybe re-outlining your house. My flowers are really subtle. I really just filled in these objects here, which I really enjoyed tonight. I thought it was just a simple approach to adding a bit of color. But please let me know how I can help anyone on the recording and folks that are here live with any finishing touches. Don't hesitate to let me know. But I want to thank you so much for being here tonight.